The day my ex-wife, Victoria, and I divorced, she made me choose the money or my stepdaughter. I chose the money. 7-year-old Chloe didn't cry or throw a fit. She just watched me leave in silence. Later, I remarried and had a son, and life settled into a quiet routine. 25 years later, my son, Leo, told me he was bringing his new girlfriend home for me to meet. Leo had been single his whole life, but he took after me, a hopeless romantic. He had just graduated, and after getting a little too drunk celebrating his new job, he'd accidentally slept with someone. Dad, what do I do? I found out today she's my boss. I was speechless. That's the kind of thing you're supposed to keep to yourself out of sheer embarrassment, not tell your father. I don't care, he declared, his confidence surging back. I don't care who she is. I'm going to win her over. I didn't offer a word of encouragement, but he was already fired up. A couple of days later, he came home looking defeated. Dad, she told me to stop bothering her. Well, I said, trying to console him, you could be a bit much. He sighed. She even asked me what it would take for me to leave her alone. I told her if she came home with me to meet you just once, I'd never bother her again. What? I know it's a long shot, he mumbled, but I wanted my dad to meet the person I've fallen for. And so, I spent the entire day cooking and cleaning, preparing for the arrival of this important guest. When a woman with a stoic, unreadable face walked in behind Leo, my mind went blank for a second. My first instinct was to hide. But Chloe Sterling showed no flicker of recognition, which was both a relief and a small heartbreak. She was only 7 when I left. She probably didn't remember me at all. I pulled myself together and warmly invited her to sit down. Leo, bless his heart, started chattering away, trying to cram his entire 20-something years of life into one conversation. Chloe ate with a polite, distant focus, her eyes fixed on her plate. Then, she casually picked up a shrimp. A jolt of panic shot through me. I leaped to my feet, snatching the shrimp from her chopsticks just as it neared her mouth. You can't eat that. She has a severe shellfish allergy. When she was little, a single thumbnail-sized shrimp almost sent her into anaphylactic shock. Leo stared at me, bewildered by my sudden outburst. Dad, this shrimp isn't fresh, I stammered. There's some soup simmering in the kitchen. Go get Ms. Sterling a bowl. Leo nodded and headed for the kitchen. Chloe lifted her gaze and offered me a faint, knowing smile. I was starting to think you didn't recognize me, Mark. In my early 20s, I was dazzled by the glitz and glamour of high society and married Victoria Davenport. She was a wealthy heiress whose first husband had died in a car crash on his way to their daughter's first birthday party. She needed a devoted caretaker for herself and her child, and a handsome, ordinary guy like me was the perfect fit. Chloe was 4 when I married Victoria, old enough to understand what was happening. From the moment I moved in, I tried to connect with her, but she saw me as a threat, the wicked stepfather who had stolen her mother. It's almost funny to think about now, but I was no match for her back then. She was clever and calculating, always finding ways to make me look bad in front of Victoria without saying a word. A prime example was the time she silently ate the fried rice I'd made, knowing I had mixed in tiny bits of shrimp and ended up in the emergency room. Victoria tore into me for that one. Of course, I wasn't a complete pushover. During her hospital stay, I made sure she would serve her most hated food, carrots, for every single meal. But honestly, how could a grown man truly hold a grudge against a little girl who had lost her father? Besides, by then, I was starting to see Victoria's true colors and knew my marriage wouldn't last. You're only 5, I told her quietly in the hospital room. An allergic reaction this bad can cause lifelong problems. Next time, don't use a method that hurts you more than anyone else. It's foolish. I probably won't be around much longer, I continued, but you'll have other stepfathers, maybe even step-siblings. Do you understand what I'm saying? Focus on yourself, on growing up strong. She just snorted. You'd better keep your word and get out of my house. After that, she still treated me like I was invisible, but she never tried to sabotage me again. On Chloe's 6th birthday, the hopeful light in her eyes slowly died as I tried and failed, for the 12th time, to get Victoria on the phone. Finally, she just went back to her room and shut the door. The local news had issued a severe windstorm warning, but I ran out into the gale, going from bakery to bakery, only to find them all closed. The little girl stayed in her room all day. Defeated and with a raging fever, I decided to bake a cake myself. I'd never baked in my life, and the result was, unsurprisingly, a lopsided mess. I couldn't find any candles, so I lit a few toothpicks, shielded the tiny flames with my hand, and crept into her room. She was sitting on the floor in the dark, clutching a small wallet-sized photo of her father. The cavernous room seemed to swallow her whole. I started singing Happy Birthday, and just as the toothpicks burned out, she let out a gut-wrenching sob. My birthday is the day my dad died, she cried. Mom says I'm not allowed to celebrate it, but I got a perfect score on my test this year, and she was so happy she said she'd let me have a birthday as a reward. She still forgot. I killed my dad. Mom is never home. Grandpa and Grandma don't like me because I'm a girl. Nobody likes me. Her emotions shut off as quickly as they had erupted. By the last word, even the sobbing was gone, replaced by a profound, desolate emptiness that didn't belong in a child. A strange panic seized me, and I carefully reached out and pulled her into my arms. After a few seconds, when she didn't push me away, I held her tighter. My mom got sick too, I whispered, my voice hoarse from the fever. It was a problem with her uterus, and the doctors said it was related to giving birth to me. But she never blamed me. She was just glad it was her who got sick and that she didn't pass it on to me. Your dad would have felt the same way, I said. He wouldn't blame you. He would only be sad that he couldn't be here to watch you grow up. No one else matters. As long as you know your dad loved you, that's enough. Delirious with fever, I didn't last much longer. I drifted off to sleep with her still in my arms. When I woke up, there was a cool, damp cloth on my forehead. Chloe was curled up next to me, fast asleep, her little hand clutching the hem of my shirt. After that birthday, she changed. She was still proud and a little prickly, but the heavy cloud of sadness and suspicion began to lift, replaced by the mischief and willfulness of a normal kid. At the same time, my relationship with Victoria deteriorated until we were like oil and water. My own mother's health was also getting worse, and I was pouring money into her hospital bills, but Chloe was just a kid. I kept those worries from her. One day, while tidying her room, I saw her diary lying open. I immediately closed it, wanting to respect her privacy, but not before my eyes caught a single sentence. I think I can let Mark be my dad now. My heart did a little flip. I had to laugh. But that was also the day Victoria brought the man she was seeing on the side into our home without a second thought. It led to the biggest fight of our marriage, a screaming match that ended with one word: divorce. I started packing that night, trying to figure out how to break the news to Chloe. But it was like she already knew. She just asked, "You're leaving, aren't you?" I nodded. I told her it was between me and her mom, that it had nothing to do with her, and that I'd come back to visit often. Then she asked, "Can I go with you?" I saw that same look of desperate hope from her 6th birthday, and after 3 years together, I knew exactly what that look cost her. I only hesitated for a moment before I said yes. When Victoria found out her daughter wanted to leave with me, she flew into a rage. She called Chloe an ungrateful brat and accused me of manipulating her to get more money. But Chloe just held my hand tighter and asked, "When are we leaving?" During the divorce proceedings, I asked Victoria $4,500,000. My mother was critically ill, and I needed the money for her treatment. That's when she changed the terms, the cruelty in her voice sharp as glass. She made me choose, the $500,000 or Chloe. "Let's see how noble you really are," she sneered. "Let's see if you'll pick a money pit of a child over cold, hard cash." The calls from the hospital's billing department were relentless. I couldn't just let my mother die. And so, for the second time, I watched the light go out in Chloe's eyes. She gave me a look of pure despair, then turned and locked herself in her room. My mother didn't make it. After the funeral, I tried to find Chloe. It didn't matter if she forgave me. I just needed to apologize. But Victoria had moved, taking Chloe with her to some unknown city. I never saw her again. Until tonight. She had grown up and didn't look much like her younger self, but I recognized her in an instant. It was a strange, surreal feeling. "Chloe." She cut me off sharply. "Don't call me that. You don't have a right." I wanted to explain what happened back then, but she gave me no opening. Her eyes swept around our small, dated apartment and then landed back on me. I nervously ran a hand through my thinning hair. The furniture was old, the style stuck in another decade. My wife passed away young, and most of my energy had gone into raising Leo. I hadn't taken care of myself, and the handsome young man I once was had vanished. "It seems choosing the money didn't work out so well for you after all," she said, her voice dripping with scorn. "But me? The one you abandoned? I'm worth billions now." She casually adjusted the watch on her wrist. "This watch could buy this entire apartment building. Don't you regret it?" she asked, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "Then again, it makes perfect sense." She nodded thoughtfully. "You married my mother for her money. Why would I ever expect you to choose me over it?" There was nothing I could say. I could only stand there in silence. "What's wrong? Cat got your tongue?" You used to be so full of advice, so full of lectures. She let out a short, bitter laugh and pushed her chair back. 25 years, and your cooking hasn't improved a bit. This is disgusting. By the time Leo came back from the kitchen with the soup, she was gone. He looked disappointed, but turned to me, searching for approval. So, Dad, what do you think of her? Given the circumstances, the last thing I wanted was for them to continue seeing each other. I chose my words carefully. She's fine. Leo heard the hesitation in my voice and pressed on. She's only in her early 30s, and she's the CEO of a unicorn tech company. Isn't that amazing? It's very impressive, I admitted. So, you don't think she's pretty? No, she's beautiful. Is it her personality, then? I guess she does seem a little cold. Not at all. I found myself defending her. She just has a tough exterior. She's warm on the inside. Really? You don't think she's too old for me, do you? I slapped him on the shoulder. 32 is not old. It's the prime of her life. Leo yelped, but then broke into a grin. See? I knew you liked her. He stood up to clear the table, beaming. I think Chloe had a good time, too. She ate everything on her plate, and she's usually on a super strict diet. Just then, his phone buzzed. His face fell before he even saw the screen. I promised I wouldn't bother her, so I already submitted my resignation. She probably just approved it. He unlocked his phone. He showed it to me. The word rejected was displayed in bold red letters. Leo took this as a sign of hope. I warned him not to get too excited. Sure enough, today marked his 11th consecutive day of working overtime. Dad, don't wait up for me, he said over the phone, his voice rushed. This project is at a critical stage. I have to push through. Chloe looks exhausted. Her face is so pale. I want to help her get some rest. Before I could ask more, he hung up. After a moment of thought, I slow-cooked a pot of chicken and rice soup and took an Uber to their office building. Security was tight, and the guard at the front desk wouldn't let me in. I tried calling Leo, but he didn't answer. I had no choice. I know your CEO, Ms. Sterling, I told the guard. Could you please tell her Mark Peterson is here with a late-night snack? The guard made a call and returned. Ms. Sterling is in a project meeting. If you want to wait, it'll be at least 2 hours. I nodded and found a bench to the side. The winter night was cold, and in my rush, I'd forgotten my down jacket. I shivered the moment I sat down. The guard took another call and came over. Sir, maybe you should head home. It doesn't look like they'll be finishing up anytime soon. It's okay, I told him. I can wait. My old bones were already protesting. I knew I'd catch a cold from this. Thankfully, I had only been waiting about 30 minutes when Chloe stepped out of the elevator. She shot me a lazy, dismissive glance, but for some reason, I could feel she was angry. Coming all the way out here in the cold to bring your son a snack, she said acidly. You really are a great father. I held out the insulated container. It's not for him. It's for you. Your favorite chicken and rice soup. She froze for a split second. I haven't liked that in years. This is ridiculous, she scoffed. Do you really think I'm still that naive little girl you can manipulate? She turned to walk away. Chloe, I called out, my voice urgent. You're too thin. You need to eat properly. Don't get sick. She didn't even look back, just got into her car and sped off into the night. I sank back onto the bench, a hollow feeling in my chest. She really did look unwell. With her low blood sugar, she couldn't afford to skip meals. It was reckless. The sound of footsteps approached. A young woman with an employee badge came up to me. Sir, is this container for Ms. Sterling? I nodded. She looked pained. If you don't mind me saying, Ms. Sterling asked me to tell you. She wanted to take this and throw it away for you. She spoke in a roundabout way, but I understood perfectly. Leo finally answered his phone and came down to get me. Good thing Chloe seemed to be in a hurry tonight, he chattered as we left. That meeting ended super fast. Normally, this is when she'd just be starting to tear into the front-end developers. He opened the container. Dad, you came all this way just to bring me a pot of plain rice soup? He looked at me, incredulous. I rubbed my nose, embarrassed. What's wrong with that? It's still a father's love. For the next few days, I made it my mission. One day it was roast chicken, the next barbecue chicken, then southern fried chicken. Chloe remained icy, sending the same young assistant down each night to dispose of the food. The assistant would give me a little report. The barbecue chicken smelled the best when I threw it out, she'd whisper, and I'd secretly slip her a container of wings for her trouble. My son, however, who was getting nothing but chicken skin for leftovers, was starting to complain bitterly. One evening, as I arrived with my delivery, a roar of celebration erupted from upstairs. The project was a success. A crowd of people emerged from the elevators, all gathered around Chloe. Leo was buzzing with excitement, chattering in Chloe's ear. He didn't even see me. She was smiling, shaking her head at his antics. She looked tired, but she was absolutely radiant. It sounded like they were heading out for a celebration dinner. I took a few steps back, not wanting to intrude. Leo followed Chloe into the back of a car. I waited, but the car didn't move. Suddenly, the window rolled down, and Leo stuck his head out, his eyes scanning the area. He spotted me before I could slip away. "Dad, you're here. Why didn't you say anything?" "Chloe was the one who told me you were here, or I would have never known." He insisted I get in the car, saying they'd drop me home first. I tried to refuse, but he wouldn't have it. "Chloe changed the location for the party. It's a place really close to our house, so it's no trouble." I was squeezed in the middle seat. I turned to thank Chloe, but she was already looking out the window. "It had nothing to do with you," she said flatly. "That place just had a discount." Just then, tires screeched. Our driver swerved violently to avoid a kid who had darted into the street, and the car spun out of control, heading straight for the guardrail. On pure instinct, I threw myself over Chloe, shielding her head and neck. A moment later, I felt a heavy impact from behind. Leo had lunged forward to protect both of us. The car slammed into the guardrail and came to a stop. Miraculously, it didn't flip. But Leo's impact had slammed my head against the window, giving me a mild concussion. And the combined weight of two grown men had cracked one of Chloe's ribs. So, Chloe and I ended up in the hospital. Leo, completely unscathed, was put in charge of looking after us both. Leo's cooking skills were non-existent. As expected, Chloe took one bite of his food and grimaced. "The chicken skin isn't even crispy. This is nothing like what your dad makes." Leo scratched his head. "When have you ever had my dad's cooking?" A blush crept up her cheeks. She shot a quick glance at me. I was pretending to be calm, but was secretly setting off fireworks, and quickly backtracked. "I was just guessing." A few days before we were discharged, Chloe had an unexpected visitor. It was her maternal grandfather, a man I'd met once years ago. He was accompanied by another man in a tailored suit. "This is Chad, Mr. Kensington's son," her grandfather announced. "You two should get acquainted." Chloe didn't even lift her eyes from the glass of water she was holding. Chad was clearly not used to being ignored, and his face flushed with anger. "I do you the favor of visiting you in this dump, and this is how you act. You're nothing but the daughter of a woman who died young. What gives you the right to be so arrogant?" In one swift motion, Chloe flung the contents of her glass into his face. The man wiped the water from his face in disbelief, his hands clenching into fists. He took a step toward her bed. I let out a yell and jumped in front of Chloe, my hospital gown flapping. The 4-needle ripped from the back of my hand. I was like a cornered rooster, feathers puffed out, ready to fight. "Nurse!" I shouted. Chad snorted and turned to Chloe's grandfather. "Since I'm clearly so unwelcome here, I guess that business deal we discussed is off." With that, he stormed out. "Chloe, are you trying to kill me?" Her grandfather clutched his chest, gasping. Chloe gestured for me to go back to my bed. I drew the curtain, but could still hear her voice, low and steady. "Victoria ran the family business into the ground. That has nothing to do with me. I won't be manipulated into some arranged marriage, and I certainly won't be bailing her out with my money. You can give up on that fantasy right now. Weren't you always the one who was disappointed I was a girl?" She continued. "Well, you reap what you sow. However you treated me, that is exactly how I will treat you." The old man roared. "After everything this family did for you, raising you." "Yes," she cut him off, "and I'll be there to bury you. What a shame your deadbeat daughter didn't leave you a dutiful grandson. It'll be just me, a woman, standing at the front of your funeral. How pathetic for you." The old man's eyes rolled back in his head, and he collapsed. Thankfully, they were in a hospital. He was rushed to the ICU. After a flurry of activity, he was stable, breathing, but unable to speak. Chloe listened impassively as the doctor explained the prognosis. When he was done, she asked only one question. "When will he die?" The doctor gave her a startled look, said he didn't know, and walked away, shaking his head. I let out a sigh, and she turned her gaze on me. "What? You don't approve?" "I do not," I said, waving my hands frantically. "That bill was so long, and you signed it without even blinking. You have to check those things. And he definitely has insurance. Did you even make sure they applied the deductions?" I was on a roll, exasperated. "Look at you, your skin and bones. Making money is hard work. It doesn't just fall from the sky. You have to be careful when you sign things. You know that, right?" I went on, trying to impart a lifetime of hard-earned lessons in one go. Actually, she cut me off, her voice suddenly soft. "When I was a teenager, I really wish someone would have told me these things. Back then, after Victoria died, my grandfather sent me abroad and left me to fend for myself. I hit rock bottom, so I came back here to find you. I found you. You were sitting on a park bench with your new wife, holding baby Leo. The sun was shining on all of you. It was such a perfect picture. I had to force myself to walk away. I couldn't bear the thought of shattering something so beautiful. Not even for myself. I was stunned into silence. It took me a long moment to find my voice. Chloe. I tried to explain about that year. The reason I chose the money was because my mom. She cut me off again. I know. I found out later. Your mother was sick, she said. You needed the money to pay for her treatment. I get it, I really do. Anyone would have made the same choice. I would have. Her voice trembled, and she sniffled. What I don't get is, you knew you were going to leave. You said it yourself. So why did you build that connection with me? Why did you make me hope for something I shouldn't have? I was so good at enduring the darkness before you came. Back then, I was young and naive, acting purely on instinct. How could I have known that my genuine affection would curdle into a weapon that would wound her so deeply? I had no words. So when Leo walked in with dinner, he found his boss looking utterly heartbroken and his father with red-rimmed eyes. He snapped to attention as if he'd walked in on a crime scene. Did you two have a fight? He whispered. I didn't know how to explain, so I just shook my head. With the singular focus of a man trying to win over his girl, he immediately started fussing over Chloe, showering her with attention and forgetting I existed. See, my dad was pretty handsome when he was younger, right? He had somehow produced a photo album, claiming he wanted Chloe to get to know the complete Leo, something she could flip through while she recovered. Having just had that conversation with Chloe, a cold sweat broke out on my neck. I was terrified he would unearth another beautiful memory that would set her off. What's this one? She asked. I glanced over. It was a Polaroid of me and a much younger Chloe. Back then, phones didn't have cameras. Victoria had brought home a Polaroid, and I grabbed a reluctant Chloe to test it out. She was covering her face with her hands. Leo grinned. Oh, that's my sister, the one I never got to meet. She's my dad's ex-wife's daughter. They lost touch after the divorce. My dad looked for her for years, but he could never find her. Even though I've never met her, I feel like I grew up with her. Leo started listing things off. When I was little and being a terror, Dad would always say his head was about to explode and that if my sister were here, she'd know how to handle me. While I got older and slacked off on my homework, he'd go on about my sister, how she was a genius who got straight A's and had perfect handwriting, not like my chicken scratch. Thanks to her, I get 2 birthday cakes every year. Dad always takes me to celebrate her birthday. And ever since she turned 18, Dad started putting money aside for her. He said he was saving up for her wedding gift. Hey, it was too embarrassing. I clamped my hand over Leo's mouth to shut him up. Chloe spoke, her voice quiet. Why do all that? It's meaningless. She never even knew. Leo pulled my hand away. It doesn't matter. All that love was just temporarily compressed. The moment they meet again, it'll just expand, and she'll be reunited with the dad who's been thinking about her every single year. He paused, and even if they never met again, it would still be okay. It was just a way for him to hold on to her memory. It doesn't need a purpose. Her existence was the purpose. Later that night, the hospital lights were too bright, and I couldn't sleep. I got up to walk around and found Chloe smoking by a window in the hallway. Even in her 30s, she still tried to hide things behind her back like a guilty kid. Don't bother hiding it, I said. Give me one. She let out a dry, humorless laugh. I almost forgot. I busted you for the same thing when I was little. I remembered. Victoria and I had a huge fight, and I'd hidden in the bathroom to smoke. The smell on my clothes made Chloe burst into tears. It took me days of coaxing to calm her down, and I had a promise I'd never smoke again. You hated the smell so much back then. When did you pick it up? I asked. She took a drag. I never hated the smell. That day, I was terrified you were going to leave. I was so desperate, but I was too proud to beg you to stay. So I made up an excuse to cry. I knew you would always comfort me. She looked down, a little embarrassed, and stubbed out the cigarette. I took her hand. I'm not leaving, I said softly. I'm never leaving again, okay? She kept her head down, but let me lead her back to the room. Just after we lay down, I heard her make a quiet phone call. Yes, she whispered. He can't sleep with the lights on. Okay, thank you. 2 minutes later, the bright lights in the hallway outside our room dimmed. In the silence, a question surfaced. Do you really like Leo? She responded. He's not particularly brilliant or clever. He talks a lot, and he's kind of a dork. He doesn't seem like your type. What? Are you afraid I'll hurt him? Not really. He's a romantic, but he's resilient. I'm more worried his persistence will become a nuisance for you. If you don't like him, you can just tell him directly. You don't have to worry about hurting his feelings. She was quiet for so long, I thought the conversation was over. Then, she said, I do like him. He's a lot like you. After she was discharged, Chloe gave me her number. Every now and then, when I made a dish I knew she liked, I'd send her a text. Made that barbecue chicken you like. Want to come over for dinner? No time. I have a meeting. I put my phone down, disappointed. A few moments later, it buzzed again. Actually, the meeting just got rescheduled. But I have other things to do, so I only have an hour. I quickly wiped my hands and typed back. An hour is plenty. Fine then. Leo was also launching his all-out campaign to win her over, constantly asking me for advice. Dad, what kind of flowers should I get her? Freesias. White ones. The date was a huge success. He came home praising me. You married guys really know what women want. I told him to keep it up, quietly taking my credit. After they had exhausted the usual dinner and a movie routine, Leo was out of ideas. He was actually considering asking her to go fishing. I had to intervene again. Take her to an amusement park. For 25 years, I had remembered what a 7-year-old Chloe wanted more than anything for her birthday. I just didn't know if a 32-year-old Chloe would still want a hug from Winnie the Pooh. Thankfully, the answer was yes. But life is rarely so simple. The same day Leo came home, ecstatic that Chloe had agreed to the date, her grandfather passed away. A rival company leaked Chloe's "When will he die?" comment to the press. The public reaction was immediate and vicious. Guided by sensationalist headlines, strangers online unleashed a torrent of vile, misogynistic abuse at Chloe. Then it got worse. She was doxxed. People started sending packages containing animal organs and razor blades to her office. Someone threw red paint across the building's lobby. The company's day-to-day operations ground to a halt. Anonymous tips flooded government agencies, and her company was suddenly buried in inspections, from the fire department to the IRS. The media frenzy dredged up the Davenport family's entire history, plastering their shady business dealings all over the news and pinning the blame on Chloe, who was now the face of corporate greed. Public outrage, fueled by class resentment, spiraled out of control. The company's new project was dead in the water, and future ventures were frozen. The business was facing an unprecedented crisis. Chloe temporarily shut the company down. Leo told me, his hair a mess from running his hands through it. She said she'll figure out how to pay the contract termination fees herself. He slumped onto the couch. I can't do anything to help her. I'm so useless. I put a hand on his shoulder. Think again. I know you can help her. It doesn't matter how small it is. Right now, you can't afford to lose hope before she does. The spark in him reignited. He quickly figured out what he needed to do. A text I'd sent to Chloe went unanswered overnight, which had never happened before. I called Leo. Have you heard from Chloe? He nodded. She just messaged me. Said she has to go to Portland for a business deal, and told me not to come by her place. A wave of pure dread washed over me. I grabbed Leo's arm. Quick, we have to get to her apartment. Something's wrong. The key code didn't work. She had thrown the deadbolt from the inside. While Leo frantically called a locksmith, I pounded on the door with all my strength. Chloe, I know you're in there. Please, open the door. Silence. I kept hammering on the door, my knuckles raw. Finally, her voice, thin and broken, came from the other side. Please, just let me be alone. I felt a slight wave of relief. Chloe, open the door. The company shutting down is just temporary. You'll get another chance. There are no more chances. No more. I could hear her sobbing. When I was a kid, my mother, my grandfather, they all told me I was worthless. They said worthless people don't get to keep the things they want. And they were right. You left me. I spent all these years fighting so hard. I got the money, the status. I finally made myself into someone of value. And then, by some miracle, I found you again. Everything was getting better. My career was taking off. My health was fine. I even found someone I loved. It was so good. But her words were choked with sobs. But why do all the good things disappear so fast? Overnight, I'm worthless all over again. There's so much I want to hold on to this time, but I don't have the courage to watch it all disappear again. I heard a faint shuffling sound from behind the door, as if she were dragging herself away. Chloe, I yelled, my voice cracking with desperation. Chloe, I won't disappear. Dad loves you. Dad will never leave you. I don't care what anyone else thinks. If I had a second chance, I would never have let go of your hand. I would have gotten on my knees and begged Victoria. I would have stolen her jewelry to sell for cash. I would have done anything to take you with me. Really? Her voice was a fragile whisper. Really, I choked out. I swear on Leo's life. She let out a small, watery laugh. My heart settled a fraction. I pressed on, my voice urgent. You know, when I first moved in, I was terrified of you. You were like this little monster, all gloomy and intense. You weren't charming at all. I gave up on the idea of being a dad to a bonus daughter right then and there. I just hoped we could stay out of each other's way. But you were so prickly. You wouldn't let me ignore you. You got yourself sent to the hospital, and when I talked to the doctor, I found out it wasn't the first time. I realized you were only doing it to get Victoria's attention. The only time she would spare a moment for you was when you had a severe allergic reaction. I thought to myself, maybe the little monster is just really lonely. And you were so easy to please. That cake I made was disgusting. I was just going to let you see it and then throw out, but the next morning, I found you had eaten the whole thing. You even stammered a thank you. That's when it hit me. The little monster was actually a little angel. I never told you this, but that cake was supposed to be my goodbye gift to you. I was already planning on divorcing Victoria, but then you fell asleep in my arms, and you mumbled dad in your sleep. I don't know if you were dreaming of me or your real father, but I couldn't bring myself to pull your hand off my shirt. I stayed. For you. Chloe, I'm telling you all this because I need you to know, no matter what happens, you are a gift to me. You are an angel. Your existence is priceless to me, and I will not let anyone hurt you. Not even yourself. Click. The lock turned. The door swung open. Chloe stood there, her face buried in her hand.